Between these three guys, if they don't know the answer, it can't be done at a race.
All right, I'm Griessmeyer with Race Day Events out of Madison, Wisconsin. Kind of picking up where Ted left off. Nowhere near as good as Ted, but picking up where he left off on equipment logistics and management. Just a quick little bit about Race Day. We started in 2006. 2011, we actually took it to more of a full-time business rather than a hobby. 2013 was when we first kind of dabbled in the national scene. We were asked from a Chicago company to take 11 events across the nation from Portland, Maine to California, Texas, several of those other states. So we got a little bit of test there, as well as we tried our own national level series producing our own events in 6 different states, and did not do as well producing our own events, but we found that getting equipment and stuff across the country was definitely an achievable goal. 2014, we got a little more efficient and competitive just by getting to more states. And then 2017, we should be in 15 states by the end of the year. And if all goes well, we'll be at about 350 different events. We found that the full service package is what the easiest way to get further distances. If you're doing timing, equipment, and supply and labor, you can kind of give up some of the price on the timing. You're getting the money back on the equipment. So we find that if it's full package, it's easier to get everything across. If you're doing just one or the other, it's a little bit tougher to travel the distances. One of the things I found for own versus rent on your own equipment, I was kind of a stickler of paying back in 1 year or less. So a lot of stuff we bought quickly was cones, fence, and then the truss pieces. 1 year return was kind of the rule of thumb, and so far it's worked pretty well. It was a scalable deal, so we bought a couple hundred pieces of fence right off the bat, a couple hundred cones. When we needed more, we kept growing a little bit more and more. As you can probably guess, certain items require some special vehicles or equipment. Fence is always a tough one. When you're doing the barricades or the fence, it requires a large trailer. And when you get a large trailer, it requires a much larger truck. So, and then you get a second trailer, and then all of a sudden you need 3 orders of fence going out. You need 3 trailers. And it grows pretty quickly from there.
Have you been able to finance all that stuff off of cash flow, or do banks loan money to timers?
A little of each, mostly
Cash flow.
Cash flow, just the way I preferred to do it.
Yeah.
We have found that, especially with vehicles and trailers, the banks will help out a little bit. Some of the difficulty that we've run into, we are now in our 5th office in 5 years, I think. Every time you buy a new piece of equipment, you need to put it someplace. Started out in a condo garage to a 40 by 80 storage building to another office. We had 2 offices at one point, and now we have a rather large warehouse with nice parking in the back for all vehicles and trailers, plus equipment inside and outside storage. Repairs and maintenance is another item you find in a hurry. Thousands of feet of fence that is bright white when you get it. Doesn't stay bright white very long when it's metal out in the elements. Rust starts to turn orange pretty quickly. Vehicles and vehicle maintenance, as I said, buying trailers, you need something to pull it. You need more vehicles, more trucks, and more of our recent findings is DOT regulations. Anytime you cross state lines, anytime you haul something heavy, all kinds of new regulations, and you just kind of find them as you go. A lot of studying, trying to figure that stuff out. Some of the tips we've learned, always have a backup plan. You never know when a vehicle is going to go down. You never know when somebody like myself will book too many feet of fence in a given weekend. Hopefully you have somebody you can work with closely and find additional fence. And always make sure you have staff that are experienced and you can trust getting the stuff out there. All right, allocating resources. Training and experience seems to be probably the most important. As you need to get people across state lines, you're sending somebody on the road 14 hours driving, you want to make sure you trust them, that they're going to actually get to the place. You want to walk kind of a fine line on the times. You don't want to send somebody 4 days early just to put them in a hotel for a long time. You want to make sure you get them there, but give them enough time for anything that could happen. And we find that if you get repeat customers and repeat staff, send the same staff to the same customers, seems to really keep the efficiency going. And then if you can use partners to make travel and equipment hauling more efficient, really if you can partner up, there's a lot of people in here, obviously your competitors. We found that building a business of finding partners, finding our competitors that do the exact same thing. If somebody has fence halfway to a job that we're going to be at, we can stop by, pick up their fence. You save that much miles without hauling fence. You might get staffed that same way. Timing companies, I know we work with a lot of timing companies doing the same thing. Rather than fly somebody to one of these other states to time something, a lot of times we'll hire a local company. Even though it's our full service contract, it's cheaper to do it that way. A couple of takeaways. Definitely looks simpler than it is. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about today, we learned by doing the wrong way, from flat tires on trailers, overloading trailers, not strapping things the right way, pieces of equipment falling off on the highway, people backing into things, trucks getting wrecked, transmissions going. It's a little of everything. We've learned the wrong way. Importance of DOT and insurance. Insurance is obviously you have to have insurance no matter what. And then DOT is another one. We're still kind of finding our way through that, but it's a process, and it's depending on what you're hauling, how much you're hauling, the weight you're hauling, crossing state lines, it triggers a whole bunch of different things. And then again, knowing how to partner with people in the industry, both for what not to do. Again, I can tell you guys all kinds of stuff what not to do because I've done it wrong. Learning from people that know how to do things right. It's the way our business was built, is the right people told us how to do things. And then obviously helping with the staffing and backfilling. Questions?
One of the big things on my mind is managing the equipment, managing your inventory where it is and transferring it properly, keeping good logs of who has what. And mostly we do that in the spreadsheet that 90% of the time isn't really up to date with who has what decoders or PA systems, routers, modems, computers, all that stuff. And I've seen a few Kickstarter campaigns where actually put a little RFID chip on each piece of equipment, and I don't know. I'm just wondering what your system is for managing inventory and its location and doing equipment transfers.
Spreadsheets and really good staff, because I do not do a good job of managing the equipment. Our timing department is probably one of the most organized people you've ever met. If you haven't met Autumn yet, she's right back there. If you want some organizational skills, talk with her. I am probably a large nightmare in Autumn's life because I am not good at managing how much equipment we have, and I will very often oversell it, and that's why you see I'm much better at partnering with all of you guys out there saying, help, 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 I overbooked. We need to do a little bit better. So right now, Excel is the best we found. I have been doing a lot of research on rental, any sort of rental software and that, and have not been able to find anything that really works well for us yet. So Excel is what we use.
Ryan, do you see any industry trends?
As far as just on the equipment side, or lots of races, obviously. I think it is starting to fade down a little bit. We are seeing people cutting back and kind of pinching on the equipment just to meet budgets a little bit tighter. But we obviously flourish off of as many races as possible, needing as much equipment as possible. And it seems we're holding steady right now, but I think the number of races is going down a little bit.
What size races are you willing to travel for? Like, how do you do your formula of how far you will travel for what event?
More or less for me, it's just a quick cost analysis spreadsheet of if it's a 200-person race and this is what they're willing to pay, we'll go do it as long as it's going to make us money. We just another quick Excel spreadsheet that runs the cost versus how much is coming in. We'll go anywhere if it's going to make us money.
Ryan, and maybe for Ted, we have a race that has a massive PD bill, close to $100,000. Can you talk about police? Can you talk about working with police and substituting equipment for man, and how that negotiation, working with DOT, police, what you two have found in course setup that can reach an economically feasible middle ground between police and equipment?
It's actually a really good question. It's something we're working on right now with an event in Milwaukee. They have a large police bill plus a large traffic bill, and you're trying to manage that one way or the other, whether you can, cut down on some of the traffic, the barricades you're putting out, the cones you're putting out, or if they need to staff that with a police officer. It comes down to whatever venue, whatever your city you're at, but also managing exactly, trying to persuade them what the safest way is, what you feel the safest way is. You make sure you have a volunteer there. You might need less traffic stuff or cones or even less police officers, but you can probably speak to that a little better.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things I look at. One is timing, because most markets will charge you a minimum maximum based on the number of hours that you're working or that the race is happening. So there's some places that have a 4-hour minimum, 5-hour minimum, so that depends. So I look at how long the race is, where you can implement some course cutoffs to help kind of save some coin, especially for your slower participants in the back end. If they're going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases, in some markets. Where do we trim the fat there? The other thing too is I would look in the market that you're in at substitution options, whether it's traffic safety folks, military personnel that you can make a donation to. To Ryan's point, whether or not your barricade vendor, so I can contact Ryan's shop or LAS or anybody like that and say, hey, do you guys have traffic control equipment? Great. It's going to be cheaper for me to rent it from you than it would be from a traffic agency, or get it from the city's services and have it out there and use. So a little bit of digging there as far as what you can substitute for bodies is key. But at the end of the day, your local PD is holding the keys. So if they don't feel like it's safe, then the easiest thing that I would do is look at time and see where you can cut, have a course cutoff location if folks need to get to a certain location by a certain time. And if they don't, then they have to pass that location, drop your time, your match, so on and so forth. Obviously, you want to let your participants know where that cutoff point is, but that could save you some money here and there.
We were actually able to reuse some officers in different locations because of those same kind of minimums. So we were able to move someone from the starting area to further down the course because now we can utilize one officer for two. Now, with that kind of bill, I don't know how much you can bring it down, but every little bit does help.